Bury the lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Friday night after the bell. But tonight it's a special night because it's the Crown Jewel WWE pay-per-view we're recapping. My name's John Zedell. This is Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
It's a Saturday evening here in southern New Jersey. Unusual to be doing Don't Bury the Lead at this time, but hey, I'll take it. It was like watching a long football game. It was Crown Jewel. Without further ado, John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from this premium live event originating from Saudi Arabia?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead, no matter where the pay-per-view is. And this special pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia, the lead is Roman Reigns retains the title against L.A. Knight in a very good main event. Dom, what did you think of this match?
Leading up to this match, Roman Reigns had said something about leaving LA Knight in the desert, like they were going to bury him. Well, don't bury the lead and don't bury LA Knight. LA Knight gets beat here, but I think he looks strong. This was a different Roman Reigns match for me. I haven't seen many of them. He wrestles every couple of months or so as a singles title defense. Roman fights right away. That was very un-Roman like when the bell rang. So this match only goes 20 minutes, but it has as much action in it as like a normal 30-minute Roman Reigns match, because there was very little of that let's pose and posture for 5 minutes before we lock up or do things. Like he went right after him, which I mean, unexpected, but it led to a match with a lot of action. Eventually it becomes somewhat of a schmaz, as all Roman Reigns matches do. The last 5 minutes, really, Solo Sikoa comes out to cause a distraction on the Ram. That brings out Jimmy Uso. I mean, eventually we'll get more into what the schmazing was about, but Roman Reigns hits a huge spear on LA Knight for a pinfall. Just about 20 minutes into this for the 1, 2, 3. Fun match, though. This was a cool match. It was an unusual Roman Reigns match, but it wasn't unusual in a bad way. I liked it. What say you in a general sense before we get into some spots?
I liked it too. The amount of heat in the building, especially for a crowd that's a little notoriously dead, they were really, really into it. And that's usually how I'll assess the matches, how they're able to hook the crowd. They didn't need to do much. You know, when the crowd's that into it and the build's that good, they really didn't have to do anything too crazy or too outside the box to get them going. But overall, I have to give credit to LA Knight for standing strong and looking strong in the performance. And I think he fit the part of a guy that should be in the main event. So overall, I was pretty happy with it. And Roman Reigns continues to just really impress as the heel champion here.
I was glad to see the crowd get back into it for this match. And you're right, they were hot right away. But there were at least 2 matches on this 7-match card, not counting the kickoff show match that was before the official premium live event started, where it looked like the crowd was out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So I was glad to see the crowd they were hot early and really into this match right away. It was a great 20 minutes for the crowd. It seemed like, as well as watching it. Roman, of course, he's doing Roman stuff. He's wonderful at playing to the crowd as a heel, mocking them, looking like he's trying to get into arguments with them. You know, as he books, he's doing the shush when they start chanting for LA Knight. You know, at other times they start chanting against Roman, and he starts looking at him like, me? Like, you think I'm that? You think I'm an a-hole? You think I suck? He does all of it. He's so good at, you know, Roman's in an arena with how many thousands of people, yet he acts like he's, you know, at an indie show in front of a few dozen.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to argue with specific people in the audience.
My favorite,
it's wonderful,
was the crowd's notoriously kind of dead there, but they were so into it. And the chants I was hearing, they're doing the a-hole chant. I felt like I was in ECW Arena in 1997.
Right.
Like they were so, you know, I haven't heard that one pulled out in forever. So I was, you know, as a native of Philadelphia, I was really into the a-hole chant. I was like, wow, I haven't heard that in a while, and I was into it.
Do we have to give LA Knight a lot of credit here because people were hot for LA Knight, and that just rolled over into just the anti-Roman chants. Like this was not your sit on your heel, and maybe it couldn't be because Roman Reigns and LA Knight don't have a lot of history. They didn't spend a lot of time building this match. This wasn't Roman versus Jey Uso where there's years of history there. They're cousins. They were in the bloodline. This was thrown together very quickly, and it was just a let's see what you guys can do about this match. I thought both guys, the crowd was crazy for it, and both guys performed really well. I liked this match. I mean, was it Roman Sami Zayn in Elimination Chamber? No. This was fun.
It wasn't the match of the year, but I'd say it's, for me, one of the better Roman Reigns matches I've seen. And it's definitely the most I would even make the argument that's like the most I've seen a face over since we've been watching, right?
Yeah.
I know Cody was at some point, but there was a little bit like the heat kind of turned off with him. Sammy in Montreal, but that was his hometown. This is Saudi Arabia, and they're going crazy. I mean, they're going crazy for Roman Reigns, like he was born there or something,
Yeah. This was a
LA Knight.
This was there was a lot of questions going into this match, and so I watched this match just saying, okay, open-minded. Let's see what happens. Let's see how the crowd reacts. Let's see how the wrestlers react. And I think that's why I keep using the word fun. Like, I know this wasn't a 5-star classic like Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, and it probably wasn't even the best Roman Reigns match. But just because you went into it without much preconceived notions, this was fun to just watch it play out. And any spots you liked, any sequences in here that stuck out to you? I don't want to dwell forever just saying fun. These guys wrestled for 20 minutes, and it was as much action as a 35-minute Roman Reigns match. So anything you wanted to point out?
For me, it's just the a-hole chant was like, yes, amazing. The pacing was perfect. They didn't have to do anything too crazy. Like, they didn't have to go a million miles an hour. But they did kind of start off pretty quickly, but they didn't start doing like a million dives and stuff like that. Every time LA Knight,
and we did see some dives today.
Oh yeah, did we?
Sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned dives, and that's just a sore spot for each of us.
We'll talk about the good right now. But like every strike LA Knight did, the crowd's just going, yeah. Like everything. So it was just, for me, from my perspective, pretty simple stuff, but just the amount of like the level that LA Knight is over right now, that every time he swings and hits someone, they go, yeah. I loved, I do have a spot. When he did the 10 bashes of the head onto the desk onto Jimmy Uso when he interfered, and then Roman came right in and he just started doing it to him. I was like, that's cool. That was a great transition.
That was the sort of the closing sequence there. It was LA Knight had a pin, and Jimmy Uso, who had been out there causing a distraction, put Roman's foot on the rope. And then so LA Knight does not get the pinfall. LA fights with Jimmy on the outside. Roman joins the fight. That's where you're talking about LA got the upper hand on each of them. But then after LA Knight running Roman Reigns into the post, he puts Jimmy through the announce table. But then he staggers out of that, and Roman spears him through the barricade, tosses him into the ring. That was the beginning of the end. One more spear in the ring, and that's the pinfall. We did get the Roman sucks chance, as you were talking about. Some spots I liked in this match. LA Knights, they build him about 240 pounds, so Roman's got about 25, 30 pounds on him. LA Knight does that tilt-the-world power slam when Roman's coming off the ropes. That's a tough move to do on a bigger wrestler. LA Knight, impressive strength and agility there to hit that move so smoothly. It looks great on the bigger wrestler. Like Roman was in no danger there. It's not like he was going to drop him on his head. But Roman came off those ropes, went up for him perfectly, as you should, as the guy taking the move. And LA Knight hit the tilt-a-whirl on the power slam. That was a really good move. LA Knight leapfrogged the spear. I haven't seen guys leapfrog the spear too often.
Oh, yeah.
They duck out of the way, they roll. LA Knight leapfrogged the spear.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. I missed that, actually.
I did like that one. They were up on top, and it looked like LA was going to hit him with a superplex. Roman fought him off, and I'm thinking, oh no, are they going to try to do the fight off, and then LA Knight's going to leap up to the top rope and superplex him? Yeah. I don't know if Roman can take this as a much bigger wrestler, and if he's used to that. I mean, people don't manhandle Roman Reigns like that often. They went for that spot, and it looked okay.
Yeah.
Like Roman took it well. Big superplex. Then the mic, he hits the mic check. LA Knight elbow off the ropes there, but gets the 2 count. Roman kicks out, and that's right before Solo Soa came out for the distraction, and then Jimmy Uso got involved on the outside. Neat stuff all the way around. The strikes were good. I like that they teased a submission.
Right.
You know, Roman's got that front face lock in there, going for that chokehold submission. And LA Knight goes limp. Then he starts to hulk up, and he looks like he's going to fight out of it. And every time he fights out of it, Roman just reapplies it again. You know, they weren't going to like give up on it. You know, it wasn't that just cookie cutter thing where, yeah, babyface is in a submission, he hulks up, he fights out, and then there's the comeback. Like they made Roman's the bigger guy. He's the champ. You know, so yeah, LA Knight would fight out, and Roman would just manhandle him again and overpower him. Right. So a lot of good in-ring psychology, as well as they could do it for a match that had really very little build and no backstory. So not a ton to dwell on. If this is the kind of match you could have enjoyed if you just watched this premium live program today and had no idea who these guys were. There are a lot of matches that rely on months and months of build. This match relied on nothing. Yeah. It was a baby face that was huge over a tremendous heel champion that played the part, you know, a heel victory at the end with the interference. But I'll say it again, fun, a lot of fun. I don't have much more to add about this match. If you want to put a bow on it.
We'll put a bow on it because this was a long pay-per-view, Dom. So
7 matches. It's time for the follow. That was the lead. Tell us in the comments if you're watching live, if you want to give us a chat, or if you're watching later and just want to leave us a comment. An unusual Roman Reigns match. Agree or disagree? Do you like a match with no build, with lots of action, or would you have preferred a more typical Roman match that we've gotten over the past year? Tell us what you think. I thought it was fun and different, and I wasn't bothered by the things it lacked because of the things that it did have.
Yep. And folks, that's the lead. Roman Reigns knocks off LA Knight, kind of predictable, but nonetheless, the biggest story coming out of Crown Jewel. And we're going to move on to the follow here, where we talk about the rest of the matches on Crown Jewel. And Dom, any matches you want to talk about in particular?
Yeah, if you're giving me the chance to lead off the follow here.
You can lead the follow.
The second match on the main card was the Women's World Championship Fatal 5-Way. And it wasn't a great match. It was the kind of match that you would probably call a JR match, where everybody's got to get their stuff in.
Right.
It goes 11 minutes, but Rhea Ripley, the champion coming in, retains. I want to mention this match because Rhea Ripley gets superstar treatment at this entrance.
Right.
Everybody else gets the normal announcement. Rhea Ripley, there's like a couple of dozen male servants out there with burning incense. And then they announce Rhea, and she comes through and winds up winning this match. She's got Zoe Stark up on the second turnbuckle. She hits a riptide on Zoe Stark, but they don't land on the ring. They land on Raquel Rodriguez, who's trying to cover Shayna Baszler. And then after Raquel and Zoe Stark roll off to the side, Rhea covers Shayna Baszler for the win, while Nia Jax was on the outside, the only one of the 5 not involved in really that ending sequence. But I think this merits mention as the next biggest story outside of the Roman Reigns LA night match because has anybody had a better 2023 than Rhea Ripley?
Right.
We don't grade Raw, but if we were grading Raw, she gets the highest A grade of anybody that we would give out. Rhea Ripley starts 2023 winning the Royal Rumble, setting a record. She's one of the first two competitors in. She wins it against Liv Morgan, who was the other of the first two competitors in there. Mm-hmm. She then has the match of the year, not the women's match of the year, the match of the year at WrestleMania, beating Charlotte Flair. Then she quietly, slowly, gradually emerges as the leader of Judgment Day, who's now running Raw, and with the turmoil in the bloodline and the bloodline shrinking in numbers, Rhea Ripley is a title holder. She's had the best match of the year, maybe the most impressive other match of the year. She's now the leader and mouthpiece of maybe the number one faction in the WWE. And she looks like $1 million in this match. They play her up as a superstar. She fits the bill, and she retains here. Has anyone had a better 2023 than Rhea Ripley?
Dude, now that you say that, that is a really good point, and I always forget about that Charlotte Flair match. But it is the match of the year as far as WWE is concerned. Wrestling in general, you could definitely make an argument that that's the best men or women's match of the year. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte, and she really does kind of carry that group. And it's funny that because Dom is a crony, Finn Balor is a worker. Damian Priest is like the big muscle, and she's like the face of it all. She's the leader.
She's become that. She didn't start off that way, but she wins Royal Rumble and she emerges into that role. Amazing year for her. And I just wanted to mention that it was one of those everybody gets their stuff in matches, so I don't have a ton of notes for it. But as far as big stories go, to see Rhea Ripley put in that position as a superstar and to look every bit of the part, I thought was a big deal.
Yeah, that's great. I have a feeling there'll be a short video about that one, Dom. That's a great
maybe.
This is the spoiler show, so yeah. There may be some video on YouTube.
What say you in the comments and in the chats? What do you think of Rhea Ripley? John and I watch SmackDown for the most part, and Rhea's been on Raw. But we do see her at these big premium live events. You can see her every now and then in clips that are put out on the internet. What do you think of Rhea Ripley, especially if you've watched her more than I have? Am I overplaying her? Am I praising her too much? Is she not all that? Or do you think she fit the bill of everything they kind of built into her persona and her character tonight at Crown Jewel? Tell us in the comments. Let me know.
Well, yeah, that's the women's match. And I agree as far as the entrance was really cool. And I like when they kind of, they rarely do this for some reason in Saudi Arabia, when they actually culturally adjust to where they're at.
Yes.
And they actually, have people that look like people that are there. I don't know what the garment's called, but they're wearing the shah, whatever it is.
Yeah, they're wearing the cloaks and the tunics, the typical desert garb.
Mm-hmm. And, also, they did it last year with Sami Zayn when he came out and actually spoke in Arabic to them. They went crazy, right?
So, Night of Champions, yes.
But anyways, so I would say,
I guess it's your turn now. I may have surprised you with that one. Where were you going to go to lead off the follow?
I was surprised, but I like where you took it. We're praising Rhea Ripley as potentially the best wrestler in the world right now, and you can make an argument for it.
Yeah, it was an 11-minute match with 5 wrestlers. Not a lot to talk. Did you have any spots that you wanted to talk about there? Because I don't want to just throw away the match and talk about just Rhea's persona.
I say, let's keep it moving because I do. Okay. I've been wanting to talk about this match.
Okay, very good.
So, Solo Sikoa versus John Cena, and Solo Sikoa goes over in a bit of a surprise.
Okay.
From my end. Solo Sikoa beats up on John Cena and wins clean as a whistle, and kind of has elements of a squash match toward the end where he's trying to fight back, but Solo keeps hammering him and hammering, and he wins the match. This for me was the match of the night. This
Okay.
Yeah, this was by far my favorite. At some point, I wrote plus awesome match. I was like, okay, I'm pretty excited. This is my match of the night. Dom, what did you think of this one?
This match coming in, the SmackDown the night before, which had been recorded almost a full week earlier, there was some parallel between the Roman Reigns LA Knight match and the John Cena Solo Sikoa match. There's a face-off on the mic between Roman and LA, and Roman calls him a cosplay redneck version of my cousin, referring to The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Later on, John Cena and Solo Sikoa have a similar kind of face-off on the mic. Cena calls him a bargain basement Taz ripoff. Now, I'm going to quibble with the Taz because he should have said Umaga.
Yeah.
Not Taz. Or he should have sasaid Samoa Joe, but he's not going to say that because Samoa Joe's Ring of Honor, AEW, the competitor. He's not going to say that.
Yeah.
But he should have said bargain basement Umaga ripoff. But it was Cena and Reigns each trying to really put down the other guy. Like really trying to bury him on the mic. It was very un-Cena-like for me. It didn't feel like a babyface promo. I could see why Roman Reigns would do that. I could not see why John Cena would have done that. And then to come out and have them just do a 16-minute one-on-one match with no interference, no funny business was a little surprising. I'm impressed by Solo Sikoa. I like that they sold it. Cena had some good strategy going in. He was going to work on Solo's right arm. He's going after that's Solo's spike arm. So he went after the arm, hand, and thumb early. Solo was selling it well. And they sold it later. Like when Solo would finally hit a spike, it wasn't a full force spike. It didn't put Cena out. That's why, like you're saying, when Solo finally hits a spike, he can't cover. And then he has to get up and hit a second spike, but they don't have full effect. So Cena's still staggering on his knees. Solo hits a third spike. Then he hits a fourth spike and Cena's down. And so Solo picks him up by the back of his head and hits 7 more spikes while holding Cena on the mat and finally pins him. We'll get into the post-match a little later, but what did you think of how Solo and Cena played the in-ring psychology and what became of this match? Lots of spike attempts in this match that did not hit.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately for me, Solo was the first person that felt like he was actually working heel. Like they had some matches, like the opener didn't really feel like it had a heel. It's kind of like two faces, and even people that were like supposedly heels are working like baby faces. So like
this is a third match of the night. So yeah, you're right. The first match didn't look like it had a heel. The second match was the Fatal 5-Way, which was just a schmoz. So this was the first match of the night that felt clear heel face.
Exactly. And I do have to say I loved the match. It was the match of the night. Give me a second. My camera's messed up. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
You look marvelous. I know you're adjusting, but you look marvelous. So Billy Crystal from Saturday Night Live there.
Solo selling to the crowd too. And he's doing like a yoo-hoo thing. Like instead of like just whatever, like it seems like kind of a catchphrase he's trying to get over, like a Yahoo thing.
Okay, yeah.
He's got his. I mean, I'm already like thinking in the future, like when he does turn face, people are gonna, instead of doing like a woo, it'll be like a Yahoo. So I like him selling the crowd, great pace, and then Solo, I guess really just him actually working like a heel, and the pacing was fantastic. Just really slow and steady. And one thing that was kind of interesting, and I heard some John Cena sucks. When Cena came out, he was getting the John Cena sucks. I could hear it like in a little bit in the background from some of the people.
Okay. Yeah. Was Triple H secretly in the crowd trying to get a few of those going?
Right.
Old rivals. Was Randy Orton sitting there,
stewing? Yeah, Randy Orton stewing on the sidelines. Maybe.
So if we want to talk Cena, you've mentioned match of the night and you like the pacing. No surprise that Solo Sikoa is able to do that. Were you surprised at John Cena's ability to work at this pace and at this level for a 16-minute match?
No, I mean, no. And I'll tell you what, we talked about it before, but
No. Okay.
we talked about this before, but like when you bring these older guys in that are part-timers, we kind of want to see them like elevate the top young talent, right?
Yep.
Like I don't really need to see John Cena go on. Like if John Cena won the title from Roman Reigns, you'd be like a little deflating. You'd be like, oh my
Sure.
god, he's back and he's like winning the title and like he's gonna do the whole thing. So I'm glad that like he was willing to put Solo over, and Solo's the perfect candidate. He's was some guy like when we first started watching again last year. He was a guy I was like, yeah, this dude's awesome, and he just seems to get better and better. And
Yep.
you know, so that's my feedback of my
How about
match.
the physicality, though? I mean, Cena goes top turnbuckle crossbody for a 2 count.
Mhm.
I mean, he's ducking spikes, getting Solo up, a bigger man, into the attitude adjustment. Cena being older and having maybe some ring rust. Never quite hits the AA, but he's getting him up for it. He's putting him into the STF. You surprised at Cena's work rate here for a guy who's not a full-time wrestler. He's older. This is not 2013. It's 2023.
Mm.
I was surprised, pleasantly surprised that Cena could work this kind of a match and really put over Solo.
Yeah,
Because you can't suck and put over the other guy, can you?
Yeah,
You've got to be good to put over the other guy.
If anything, you have to be almost better to put the other guy over.
Yeah.
You know, you could easily just go out there and squash and win, but to get the other guy over is a whole nother
Yep.
beast. But from my perspective, no, I mean, I guess in my mind, Cena's just been the same guy for the last 20 years, and I haven't seen him age a bit. I don't know
Okay.
why. So it's not like he fell off a cliff one day. Like, maybe got certain guys like it happens. Like Chris Jericho, he kind of looks his age right now. Like what he looked like a certain way, and then suddenly it's like, whoa, he looks like kind of an older dude now. But Cena, I don't know how he's done it, but he's just fountain of youth it up enough to a point where I don't realize his actual age, in his late 40s.
That's a compliment, though. Isn't that a compliment for a guy who's been doing this for 20 years? That he can come back for a short-term run, get himself back into shape, and you say he's had the match of the night at a premium live event that featured multiple world title matches.
Yeah. Well, let's keep it moving, Dom. We got plenty of matches to talk about here. Maybe I'll kick it to you. What's the next match you want to talk about?
The next match I want to talk about, I'm going to call an audible here. They did a kickoff show, and match number 0, Sami Zayn versus JD McDonough. This match only goes about 10 minutes, but Sami, of course, gets a huge pop, and they have him in the opening act role doing this, if for the live crowd to see Sami Zayn. I miss Sami Zayn. We don't see him on SmackDown anymore.
Right.
Like
we only watch SmackDown. So we don't watch Raw, so we never see him anymore.
Sami Zayn, now that he's got the confident persona, he is fantastic to watch in the ring. Like great mat wrestling early. Like Sami is so good at this, and JD McDonough kept up with him pretty well. There's one beautiful sequence. Sami escapes a wrist lock by doing a somersault flip into a kip up and then an arm drag. JD McDonough takes that move kind of into a baseball slide, pops up, charges back at Sami. Sami arm drags him again and gets him in an arm lock. Like it was beautiful to watch. It wasn't like choreographed dance moves where guys just wind up doing flippy kicks that don't actually connect, but the other guy has to fall down. Like these guys were grappling.
Yeah.
This was physical hand-to-hand combat. This was beautiful to watch. Like Sami is such a joy to watch in the wrestling ring. I love this match for 10 minutes. It was fantastic. Sami winds up winning. JD McDonough was not without his wonderful spots. Gave himself a rope burn inadvertently. He dropped down from the apron with Sami's head above the top rope, and he must have hit his left side off one of the ropes, because as he buckles over and then crawls back into the ring, he has an ever reddening welt on his left, sort of that oblique there.
Hmm.
So JD McDonough, he was a little worse for wear at the end of this one, but he looked great. He hit something that looked like a standing Spanish fly on Sammy as Sammy bounced off the ropes. Like, what an incredibly crisp looking move.
Hmm.
Like, for a throwaway match that was just there for the live arena crowd and for people like lucky enough to have tuned in early and withstanded all of the, jokey talking that was going on. Like, frankly, the only reason I tuned in and muted all the people talking is because I heard a rumor that there might be a Sami Zayn match early. And I
Okay.
got it. It was only 10 minutes, but it was so much fun to watch. I miss Sami Zayn. JD McDonough is in that lackey role right now, but he has some real ability in the ring. He
Hmm.
doesn't have the size, but he has the ability. And this led to a reason for Sami Zayn to be on this program later. We did wind up seeing him a little bit later. Do you want to talk about what was the real opening match of the PLV next? The PLE next, the World Heavyweight Championship between Seth Rollins and
Yeah,
Drew McIntyre.
I'm curious to see what you have to say about this match. So the opener is Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins goes over. There
Yes.
was an almost cash in by Damian Priest, and Sami Zayn breaks it up.
Yes, he breaks
Um,
up the cash in and then runs away with the briefcase.
yes. So he steals the briefcase from Damian Priest.
Yep.
What did you think of this match as the opener, Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre?
Like you said, there wasn't a clear babyface heel
Mhm.
dynamic in this match. I noticed Drew McIntyre getting a lot of cheers.
Yeah.
He did some babyface stuff, like he did a Cristiano Ronaldo soccer player gesture after scoring a goal at one point, and the crowd loved that because he's apparently playing for a Middle Eastern team now.
Hmm.
So Drew is like doing babyface stuff, but Seth Rollins is also kind of a babyface. They have a really good match. It lasts about 18 and a half minutes here. Seth Rollins does wind up winning. Drew tries a Claymore kick. Seth super kicks him. Drew bounces off, tries it again. Seth ducks it. Drew just hits the ground. Seth quickly hits a pedigree and then a stomp for the pinfall. 18 and a half minutes. That leads to the post match, which was very entertaining. And the kind of Seth Rollins smirking in the ring as he watches Damian Priest get thwarted in his attempt to cash in the Money in the Bank. Um, Pretty good action. I am, as always, impressed by Drew McIntyre as a bigger wrestler, as a true heavyweight who can do very quick and agile moves and sequences in there. Looked good. I don't get to see either one of them a lot. Well, you probably have more of a history seeing each of these guys. What did you think? Seth has been the workhorse among the title holders.
Yeah.
So
So,
you probably have a lot of Seth Rollins matches to go on. What do you think here?
there were some pretty cool reversals by Drew McIntyre,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Like he was able to kind of reverse some stuff, and I thought those transitions were really cool. And then like Seth, he does a lot of stuff that's a little unique. So it's not like he has like 4 or 5 moves of doom and he just hangs onto those and that's that.
Uh-huh.
He did like a drop kick to the outside, and that was really cool. But then of course he started to do all the dives again. I'm just not a big fan of the dives. I know
No,
people like them, but I just was like, I just don't want to. There's just too many dives. So, anyways, um, that's with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. I I guess I just kind of have a high standard for Seth though. So I'm
okay.
like I was a little underwhelmed by the I just wasn't like blown away by the match. Especially because when I saw, oh, it's Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, these guys are gonna rip it up. I thought it was like good enough, but it wasn't anything too compelling.
Surprised to see this match go on first out of 7 matches.
Yeah. Like,
World Heavyweight Championship.
yeah.
First match of the night. I mean, maybe to get it distance from the Roman Reigns LA Knight match, but how did this work as an opener? Leadoff hitter. How did this work as that?
You know, um, I think at the end of the day, the match was good enough, and it wasn't like a nightmare. But you mentioned Sami Zayn was in a pre-show match. Feels like he
Mm-hmm.
could have opened the show, but not to nitpick too much. I think the show overall was pretty good. So But yeah, so let's keep it rolling here. So Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre. Anything else we want to talk about with this match?
I do like they're still trying to tease that Seth Rollins is nursing a habitually bad back. He's got the hairline fractures in there. It could go at any moment. That's going to get old after a while if you don't deliver. I mean, you can't tell us that the guy's got a broken back and he keeps winning title matches.
He does have
Like
to
at some
really hurt
point,
his
the
back.
broken back, right?
Yeah, like at some point, like when does the back break? Like it can't just go away. Now he has to, and it's a weird timing, right? Because WrestleMania isn't too far off, so
No.
it would be a weird time to take time off. So I don't know how long he's going to milk that, but yeah. So that's the opener there. I think it was all right. Probably could have been wasn't Seth's best performance. Definitely not the best match of the night. But I want to move on to another match here, and this could have been the lead, quite frankly.
Okay.
So this is going to make headlines. Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio, and Logan Paul is your new U.S. champion.
Yes.
He knocks off Rey Mysterio after, kind of getting like some little back and forth here with, I don't know who was on his side, Logan Paul. I don't know who was helping him out.
One of his lackeys. They didn't bother naming him.
Yeah, Logan Paul lackey gave him the brass knuckles. Santos Escobar tried to stop the brass knuckles from being in the ring. Santos leaves it in the ring, and Logan Paul decks Rey Mysterio. So I guess that opens up the door, like, oh, why did you leave the knuckles in the ring? So like that, there could be some contention within the LWO. So I don't want to bury the lead here because with the finish, but the finish here, Logan Paul wins a WWE Championship. What did you think of this match between Logan and Rey Mysterio?
Well, I don't want to bury the lead either. This must mean that Logan Paul is going to wrestle regularly, appear on WWE TV, and defend that title. We're going to see more of Logan Paul in the WWE ring. We're going to see more of him on the mic. People are going to hate him even more, which makes sense that he's a heel. But we're also going to have to see him deliver in the ring more often. Mm-hmm. He's going to have just like a Monday Night Raw match or a SmackDown match. I wonder, since Ray was on SmackDown most of all, if the U.S. belt is staying on SmackDown, and you and I are now going to see a lot of Logan Paul on Friday nights. This is a big score business-wise if they've signed Logan Paul for more appearances and to now be more than a special attraction every now and then at a pay-per-view. He's now got a belt. He's now got to be on regular programming. I'm interested to see if he can carry that as a regular character, because now people can get tired of you.
Right.
Are people going to get tired of him, or is he going to be able to keep that shine and become a better regular performer that people just don't get stale on?
Yeah. I mean, I like the match tonight, and I like him winning the belt because I think it was time to probably pop him, to give him a title, and maybe a very intermediate title. Like the U.S. title is kind of down there, but it'll be interesting to see him defend it. And there's a lot of stuff I like about his in-ring work, actually.
Go for it. Give me some spots, because this was a strange match for Logan Paul. He was like at 218 pounds. He was the giant.
Yeah. He did so I really like Logan Paul. So I have amateur like high school wrestling background, like what we call folk style wrestling. So I had that background. So, and Logan Paul has that too. So a lot of the spots he does, like, I'm a big fan of. It kind of reminds me a little bit like of Kurt Angle, some of the stuff he can do.
Okay.
With that folk style wrestling background. Really cool stuff he does is like when the guy does a stand up, he just pulls him up and then takes him back down to the mat. That's like stuff that you would do all the time. Like you see that all the time in, folk style high school.
Yeah.
So he does that, and I think it looks really good. And then, the bear hug, that's a way to take somebody down. You would see like bigger guys do that, the bear hug. And like, because I had the indie background, I would always use regular wrestling moves too. So I see like
Sure.
some of the stuff he does, like I did. So I would be like, so I'm a fan of that. And then as far as his high spots are concerned, they are terrifying because I don't know what's going to happen. Like a lot of if you get two luchadors up there, they're really smooth and crisp and they look really athletic. When he goes up there, some of the high spots, you're like, woof. Like it's like it's like NASCAR when they're going around the bend and they're like tapping each other. You're like, oh, is he gonna break this guy's neck or not?
There was one of those. Are you referring to what looked like he was going to hit a fall-away slam on Ray from the second turnbuckle? But
Yeah.
instead of releasing Ray, Logan held on to him, flipped completely around himself, and just made it like a pancake slam and got him for a 2 count.
Oh, he just and Ray's so old, and he took this crazy spot and he lands on him like the worst way imaginable. Like he puts all of his shoulder, like he lands all of his weight into his like ribs and gut, and you're like, ooh, that's not at all. That can't be right.
Right before that, Logan Paul, maybe he was a little out of position at first, but he made a wonderful adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Ray was moonsaulting off the middle rope, and I don't know if Ray just didn't get enough air under it or if Logan just started too far back. But Logan saw it immediately, and within a split second, Logan took a huge step forward and caught Ray.
Yeah, that was
So
close.
that was close, but that was I'm going to say, just because I've seen Rey Mysterio enough, that he didn't look like he got the typical Rey Mysterio spring off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan Paul really did, a great pro wrestler's job of getting in there and catching Rey.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is like the second time now we've seen, like, this is the second match I've seen of Logan Paul, and like the high spots are terrifying. And as a fan, it is compelling. It adds that extra element to me. Like a lot of times they'll do high spots, right? And they land on like a trampoline or a big pad, and you're like, all right, they do the big crazy high spot, but they're just landing on a big trampoline, so it's not that scary. But some of the stuff he's doing is legit scary. So
Rey hit a spot on him, so Logan Paul also taking some of these spots there. Rey hits a sunset flip power bomb after slithering out of an electric chair attempt up on the second turnbuckle. So Logan able to take the bumps as well.
Yeah.
And you're right about the 619. Logan's lackey hands him the brass knuckles. He goes to use them on Rey, but Rey hits him instead, and the brass knuckles go flying out of Logan Paul's hands. That was fantastic. And now as the ref is distracted, Logan Paul's like looking around like the brass knuckles are out on the floor, and he's looking for his lackey, and he's trying to get his lackey to move over and go get the brass knuckles. And that's when Santos Escobar comes out and steps on the brass knuckles.
Right.
That was a cool spot. But then, yeah, Santos Escobar picks up the knuckles, goes to chase the lackey out of the arena.
Mm-hmm.
But he, like, instead of taking the knuckles with him, he just like casually puts them on the ring apron as he's leaving.
Right.
And as bad luck would have it, Rey throws Logan Paul into the ropes to set up a 619, and it's right over the brass knucks.
Yep.
So a cool little job of putting together a match there at the end. I'm interested to see more of Logan Paul, and it looks like with him getting a title belt now, we're going to have to see it. Like it's put up or shut up time for Logan Paul. Now that you've got a belt, you're a made man. You're in the WWE now.
Yep.
Put up or shut up time for Logan Paul. I'm interested to see where it goes.
And ultimately, I think it's a good thing. He's done good enough where I'm okay with him getting the U.S. title, and it's probably a proper build to kind of give him an intermediate title. Mm-hmm. And what better guy to give it to him than Rey Mysterio, who was going to take care of him in the ring. Mm-hmm. And Logan looked like almost killed him, but took care of him toward the end there. And interested to see what they can kind of do with Logan going forward. So next match on the sheet.
There's 2 matches left. We haven't mentioned Cody Rhodes, maybe the top baby face, at least on the Raw brand yet.
Sure. We could go over to Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. And
Yep.
Dom, I didn't see much of this one, so maybe you could take this one away from me.
There wasn't much of this match. It went 11 minutes, which is short for a Cody Rhodes match. This is the second to last match on the card. Kind of strange. I mean, Damian Priest walks down with his tag team belts, but with no Money in the Bank briefcase. I wonder what storyline that's going to go on later on Monday Night Raw. Does Sammy now have the briefcase?
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes winds up winning this. He hits a top rope Cody cutter for a 2.5 count. But after Damian Priest kicks out, he hits 3 straight crossroads for the pinfall. Match goes, like I said, about 11 minutes. It involves some interference. Finn Balor walked down to ringside at about 3:51. The ref was distracted. This is only like 5-6 minutes into the match. The ref was distracted enough. JD McDonough, who's now in street clothes, tries to attack Cody from behind. Cody nails him, sends him out of the ring. But the distraction was enough for Damian Priest. They had a choke slam, but he only gets a 2 count. So now Dominic Mysterio comes out with a chair. So it's like all of Judgment Day except for Rhea Ripley. So all the men from Judgment Day are now out at the ring. And here comes Jey Uso. Super kicks all of Judgment Day on the outside, chases them back up the ramp with the chair. And this is what allows the match to finish as a 1-on-1. And Cody does get the win. Damian Priest shows us a move that is basically the Crossroads, but he calls it the Reckoning. And he does hit it on Cody Rhodes once on the Arabic announce table, which I guess is our version of the Spanish announce table for being over in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
He does hit it again, tries it again in the ring, but does not hit it. So maybe Damian Priest is adding to his arsenal here. Cody Rhodes sells the left ankle that was hurt a few weeks ago by Judgment Day. He sells that early after landing in it, and he's playing up the left ankle. So, if you had been watching Raw and following the storyline, they didn't just throw all of that away in this match. That played a role in it. For an 11-minute match, it doesn't seem like much on the pay-per-view, especially doesn't seem like much for the penultimate match on a big card. But good enough. Cody Rhodes is way over. Damian Priest still looks like, the muscle of Judgment Day. And even with this loss, Damian Priest looks like he is a star in the making. So I don't think he gets buried by losing this match. I'm not sure how much this does for Cody. This looked like it was a match where they just been doing it on Raw for so long. They figured why not add it to a pay-per-view?
Yeah.
I think you were saying you were maybe surprised that you didn't realize this match was going to be on the card.
No, I did not know this match was going to be on the card.
They gave it 11 minutes. It's about the shortest match on the card, and it was just kind of thrown in there, it seems like, to just continue a Raw storyline.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it.
They cut it pretty. Yeah, I did notice that they cut it early, too. Maybe they were like, okay, well, we have the main event, and we're like 3 hours in, and you don't want to lose everyone. So, yeah, Cody Rhodes over Damian Priest.
We've got maybe one more match left, unless there was something from this match that you really enjoyed. We don't see Damian Priest or Cody Rhodes a lot. They're not SmackDown wrestlers.
This is
but
true.
I mean, but Cody is enjoyable, and Cody did not have a match up to like his standards for the Brock Lesnar series, and frankly, Damian Priest did not wrestle a match that was up to his Bad Bunny standards.
Yeah.
But I mean, they had basically a Raw match on a pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Then we have the last match we're going to talk about tonight is the last one we're talking about as we go down the follow here. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. Io Sky goes over. She wins dirty. Carrie and Zayn, if I'm saying that correctly.
Kyrie, and then I couldn't quite get the last name. Kyrie is I caught pretty clearly. It's either Sane, S-A-N-E maybe, or Kyrie Sane. Another wrestler from Japan or the Orient, apparently has a history with Io Sky as a tag partner. Yes, she comes out and helps Io Sky retain the belt here. This match goes about 16 and a half minutes. The crowd was dead.
Dead as a doornail.
Dead as a doornail, and I don't think the performers deserved it. Io Sky does a lot of good mat wrestling. Bianca Belair, she's the stronger wrestler. I mean, I wrote down crowd dead after Bianca Belair hit 3 straight body slams, was trying to get the crowd into it. They would not respond at all. Bianca hits 3 body slams quickly, then a gut buster, and I wrote crowd dead.
Yeah.
And I really don't think the wrestlers, I don't think that was their performance was indicative of a dead crowd. Maybe they just didn't know the wrestlers or whatever, or maybe it was like the bathroom break for everybody. They just seen Logan Paul. But I thought these women wrestled a better match than maybe the live crowd gave them credit for. There looks like they're sowing some real seeds of dissension in Damage Control now. Michael Cole on the announce basically threw that nugget to us that Bayley was out there to distract Bianca Belair, and she gets involved a little bit. Basically, Bayley going and attacking Bianca, attacking Bayley on the outside. That's when Kairi Sane is able to appear, and now it becomes a 3-on-1 on poor Bianca. But apparently, Kairi and Bayley have an antagonistic history here. So to see Io Sky embracing Kairi Sane afterwards and doing the double beatdown on Bianca Belair with her, while they zoom in on Bayley's face as she's on the outside looking into the ring and wondering what's going on here. Where did Kairi come from, and what does that mean for our faction here? So they're teasing stuff that's supposed to happen. It's a pay-per-view match that not only does a pay-per-view quality, but then sets up something that's going to happen on TV. I'm not against that, but it happens. What did you think of this match? We both mentioned the crowd being dead. Tell me in the comments or in the chat, was the crowd too hard on this match? They were dead for this match. Did this match deserve it, or should they have been a little more into this match as a live crowd? I thought it was a better match than the crowd gave it credit for. John, what say you?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. It was just one match too many.
Okay.
I was pretty dead by the main event, and it's an afternoon show. So there's no reason for I should be fine. I had coffee, I had food, I should be good to go, but I was pretty dead for it. I mean, like,
wow.
I just feel like it was just that like they needed to cut one of the matches. They've been doing a good job keeping it like 2.5 hours, 3-hour shows. And this one leaked into like closer to 4 hours, right? So
we've seen a few 5-match pay-per-views. This one was 7 plus a dark match.
Yeah, it didn't really leave me wanting more. It left me wanting less. So for that reason, I would have said we got to cut one of the matches, and this could have been one of them. The Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest, which you said was kind of a Raw match, that could have been cut.
It looked like a Raw match the way they wrestled it.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even say cut the women's match with the 5-person women's match, because Rhea Ripley's awesome entrance. It was so cool.
That was fun. Everybody got their stuff in, but that was fun. They could have cut the battle of the fake TV shows.
Oh, right. I forgot
this
about
cringe segment with Miz TV versus the Grayson Waller effect. And a Saudi Arabian movie star, I may mispronounce his name, Ibrahim Al-Ajaj. He's apparently way over in Saudi Arabia. I like that they bring him out, but The Miz versus Grayson Waller. The Miz looked like a babyface here. We didn't need a talk show versus talk show battle, did we?
You
could have cut that.
That was our lead. What are you kidding me?
That was the lead, yes.
Oh, that was the best part. When I had some guy come out, I have no idea who he is, then The Miz, then Grayson Waller, to speak English to a crowd that speaks Arabic.
Yes.
Right? Like,
you love Grayson Waller, don't you? You cheer every time he's out there on SmackDown.
I like when he's in the ring wrestling. It's just when he gets on the mic, it's a nightmare.
And he had his plants out.
He did have the
plants. They did a changeover in the middle of this cringe segment.
Yes.
Yeah. I like maybe they could have cut that.
Maybe, right? Did they have to throw that one in? And if they do have to get the celebrity segment, you could just like move on, like have them come out, wave and leave. I don't know.
Sure. He could be a guest ring announcer to announce a big match.
Yeah, seriously, that's actually pretty
You
good.
can involve him. He could like be the guy who stops someone from getting brass knuckles, or something. There are so many ways to use a celebrity other than giving us a cringe talk show versus talk show match. Surprised to see The Miz as a babyface.
Yeah, he seems more suited as a heel, but he goes back and forth. I think he fills the
Okay.
role when like that's his role. That's his role now. It's like he fills in for like when if somebody's a heel, then he'll be the face. If somebody's a face, he'll be the heel. Which we've seen with LA Knight and now with Grayson Waller. I don't think he's gonna ever have any main stories again. And I think he's getting paid a lot of money to sit there and know his role and shut his mouth.
He does promotional work, yeah, and when they need him for someone else to play off of, he's the whatever you call it, the chameleon who can change his colors.
Yep.
Whatever he needs.
All right, Dom. We're gonna go to our next segment here, and we have a couple people on the stream. Feel free to chime in with any comments you guys have. We talked about the entire show, so it's drive time. It is time for thumb drive. We give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to this pay-per-view. We don't do Dave Meltzer. We don't give star ratings. We just say good or bad. There's no in between. Are you ready, Dom?
I am ready. I will get my Solo Sikoa spike ready here.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Thumbs up.
We'll give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I want to hear your explanation first, because you look like you were wavering on some of these matches, saying it may have ran too long, something could have been cut. Well, what swung you to the thumbs up side here?
The main event was awesome.
Okay.
The main event was really good. Probably one of the better in Saudi Arabia that I've seen. Even though we're pulling for LA Knight, I think the match was great. And then the main event was good. And then there's just a couple other matches that were good. The Logan Paul and Rey Mysterio. I'm actually pretty happy with Logan Paul getting the belt.
It's the only title belt that switched tonight.
Yeah, no, I really liked Logan Paul winning, and I thought that match was terrifying and scary as hell and good, entertaining stuff. And then, of course, my match of the night, Solo Sikoa versus John Cena. I actually clapped during the Solo Sikoa John Cena match at the end.
All right.
I was like, yes, Solo. I love you. Do it. So, how about you?
I gave it a thumbs up because even though there were 7 matches, some of them were shorter, so it didn't drag into a 5-hour pay-per-view. We got out of there in about 3.5 hours. So they gave us some good action. Like we've talked about before, the main event can save a pay-per-view. I was pleased to see Roman win. Obviously, he's not going to lose the belt here in this setting. But I was pleased to see LA Knight look strong so that he has some place to go this week on TV and hopefully have a solid career in the WWE. Now that he made it to the big time,
yeah,
I'm glad that a lot of people are getting to see the level of ability in the ring and on the mic that some maybe deeper cut wrestling fans have seen in smaller promotions for years and years. I'm glad that he got this big stage. I thought he lived up to the big stage. And, I'll say it again. Has anybody had a better 2023 than Rhea Ripley?
Yeah.
She looked like $1 million here. And even though it wasn't the greatest match to showcase her ability, the fact that they went and made her look like head and shoulders above everybody else as a star, I think that bodes well. The stars came out to play in Saudi Arabia, and they delivered on the star power. So for whatever other cringy talk show battles they had, I think this was a thumbs up premium live event, and it helps that it's a Saturday afternoon. And I'm not cranky.
Oh, I forgot about that. The 1 p.m. start time is amazing because no matter what, it's not like they're keeping me up till. I mean, we've had some pay-per-views. We're live at like 1:30 a.m. or 1 a.m. once you get everything set up and you're just like, oh, how was the show? I'm like, oh, I'm like delirious. Or, so it wasn't too long from that perspective. It was a good time. It's a good time slot. Um, I know I'm kind of yammering on here, but I did notice that they're going to have a pay-per-view Elimination Chamber in Australia. So I'm interested
Yes.
if the time difference is going to be there, because I
Right.
saw they're 12 hours apart from Eastern. We're in South Jersey, so we're Eastern.
That's completely the opposite side of the world. That's not like Europe to US or even
No.
Saudi Arabia to US.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that was going to be something.
So I don't know if it's going to be an early morning pay-per-view. Maybe it'll be like 7 a.m., 7 to 10 a.m., something like that.
Yeah, February of 2024. It's a good call by them because it's summer there in February in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Maybe this will be a very early start time in Australia and maybe an outdoor venue. I don't know.
Mm.
I mean, it's going to be the summertime. But yeah, the WWE has some options open there. Do we like them doing more outside of mainland US pay-per-views?
Absolutely. Absolutely, really
This was
cool.
a good one. Other ones we've seen so far have been good. Perth, Australia. It's not Sydney. It's not Melbourne. It's not the big metropolises on the eastern side of Australia. This is Perth. Perth is like all by itself on the west coast of Australia. It's like the fourth largest city in not that big a country. So we'll see if there's, it's like 1,000 miles from places like Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane, and even Adelaide is a long way away. So
The East, you kind of know more about the East Coast of
yeah,
Australia
Perth is
rather than the West.
way on the west coast, like way long way away. So we'll see what kind of turnout they get in Perth. But because like Sydney's hosted an Olympics,
Yeah.
so that's a big place. But Perth, we'll see what happens. But hey, I'm intrigued to see what a crowd outside of the mainland U.S. looks like again. So yeah, that was a neat nugget they threw into this telecast. Was the Perth tickets are on sale beginning, I think they said tomorrow, for end of February 2024.
That could have been part of the Italian goodbye, but I wanted to throw it in there.
Sure.
So we're gonna move on to our next segment here. You know what time it is?
It's feeling cheap in here.
It's
I'm
feeling
looking around my apartment. I don't see anything that's even like middle class.
It's cheap.
This is cheap. I got a cheap suit and a cheap tie. Is it cheap heat?
That's right. My headband is a shoelace. It's cheap, baby. Cheap heat here on Don't Bury the Lead. Cheap heat is where we look and where we discuss trending topics, just articles that have come out in the world of wrestling, either in WWE, AEW. We talk about the NWA sometimes, that are just trending topics where we can make small, short videos. They have a tendency to get more views because they're trending topics. So this is Cheap Heat. Let's talk about our first topic here. Dom, I'm going to go ahead and share your screen.
All right, we talked about the stars coming out to play. Billy Strings from the world of music, apparently a huge wrestling fan. Hey, this past week was Halloween. Billy Strings and his band dressed up as different pro wrestlers. There's Billy Strings as the Hulkster himself. This comes to us from Rolling Stone magazine, their website. This is a ton of fun. I will not play the sound. Apparently, I am playing sound. Can you hear this?
No, I can't. So you're good.
Good, because it's an advertisement. I'm going to skip it. So there we go. Billy Strings is Hulk Hogan. It looks like, let's see here. There are some other people here. It looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin or Mankind. This is his bass player who may be the Undertaker. There's another video down here that here we go. It looks like in this one, I'm looking at Crow Sting on guitar. It looked like I'm getting another ad here. I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin. The drummer looked like he was dressed as Kane. Someone was the Undertaker. And he does have a female member of his band who looked like she was dressed as Becky Lynch, right?
Yeah.
We like Becky Lynch. So that was maybe the most modern of the wrestlers. So very good for her. There she is, Becky Lynch. So what great news. Billy Strings and his band, all wrestling fans and dressing up as their favorite wrestlers for a Halloween show. There's the Macho Man. The Macho Man is on guitar. Ooh, yeah, the Macho Man. There they go. So
I really, yeah, they actually went pretty all out. Interesting to see all the guys dressed up as the 80s wrestlers and 90s. And then, the women were the modern wrestlers.
Sure, there's the Undertaker on bass.
Yeah, Undertaker on bass. I did notice that they had several guys out there, like really going for it, like Hulk Hogan. They really have like great outfits. I noticed somebody dressed as Hillbilly Jim. Do you think they didn't have an outfit and they're like, go as Hillbilly Jim? Because
Hillbilly Jim, that's probably an easy one, right? If you have a beard and overalls, you just put on a hat.
And they are a bluegrass band. So
they're a bluegrass band. The fiddle player, I don't know if they'll pan to him. There's Kane playing drums. Back there, there's the monster Kane playing drums. I don't know if they'll pan a little more, or if I have to find a different spot. There appeared to be someone in here who was dressed as Stone Cold, maybe playing fiddle.
Yeah.
That was cool. The rattlesnake, you're just wearing the jeans shorts and you've got the bald head and you're just, stunning people left and right with your fiddle playing. This is a fun thing to do, right? It was Halloween. Great to see pro wrestling going mainstream like this with Billy Strings.
I'm glad that we're talking about Billy Strings because I actually saw them in Philadelphia play live, and I didn't know any of their stuff, and they're really good. Their crowd kind of reminds me a little bit of like the new Grateful Dead. There were some people selling some psychedelics outside of the venue.
So you're not talking about like they were selling the moves of the band. They weren't bumping well for the band or selling a drop kick. They were selling in a different way.
It wasn't like pro wrestling. They weren't selling the moves. They were selling other things.
There was a different kind of selling. Okay, that's possible. There, we'll move away from this. You had something you told me about. Vince McMahon and Dana White. Now that they're buddies, this is like a pro wrestling angle, isn't it? These guys were rivals for a while.
Yes.
Now they're buddies. You said this comes to us from SI.com, Sports Illustrated's website. Vince McMahon and discussed recent comments by Dana White.
And you know what, Dom? I think what I'll do is I'll share my screen for this.
You've got a better one. Go for it.
Because I can play the video. It's just an interview. So
do it.
It won't
even better.
It won't get copied. We can't usually play right strikes, but this is just an interview. We can play that. So give me just 1 second here.
Do I have to stop or can you just toggle? John is our producer for this show. He's not only co-hosting and having to talk about wrestling, but he's behind the board there of the controls for this. So hey, give John a shout out in the chat for the being the director as well as the on-air host here. Yeah, Dana White, I didn't know that there was maybe some professional real rivalry that had spilled out publicly between these two guys. So I was curious to know this one. And it did turn into kind of a pro wrestling angle later where suddenly if they're on the same team, they're buddies. You seem muted. I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. Uh-oh. Have you lost audio?
We're going to give it a second here as everything
I hear you
loads.
now. Very good.
I swear it's worth it.
Former rivals in the sports and entertainment space. Fighting for a big thing was pay-per-views, wasn't it? Dana White and UFC really jumped into the pay-per-view game, and it became, WWE used to be the big dogs in town in that. So that was probably part of it, I'm guessing, was not only wanting big TV deals for mixed martial arts, but also wanting prime, top-notch pay-per-view spots on weekends for their pay-per-views, for their big premium events. And now the two big dogs are, I won't say they're joining forces. They are, at least for now, forced to play nice. Dude. Those of you watching are either live or on a replay, are you equally an MMA and pro wrestling fan, or are you one over the other? I'm very small, minor, and MMA fan. I know a little bit about UFC. I'm more of a pro wrestling fan. So this merger to me is kind of introducing me more to Dana White and the UFC. If you are a UFC fan who's now getting more into WWE, tell us about that. Oh, it looks like we've got a shared screen up on stage here. It looks like an ominous looking Mark Calloway. Is that the Undertaker?
That is. So I'm going to press play.
And a
We've done a
villainous
lot of
Vince
business
McMahon.
here already. TKO is going to be bringing a UFC event here in March. We have this going on. In your mind, is this place the future of sports and entertainment?
Yes is the answer. You're holding a microphone and it's like the answer is yes.
Yeah. What are they doing so well in your mind?
Well, I don't think they're doing so much. I mean, they're delving into the superior aspects of all of sports and entertainment. And they're nothing but going to bring everything that's the best in the world. It's going to be here.
What are your thoughts on kind of these spectacular events that are happening?
I believe they're awesome, and it's just it's a commitment that you can tell that they're making to bring the absolute most outstanding sporting events and entertainment. They're trying to bring it here, and they're doing everything possible to make that happen.
This is a pretty special venue, obviously just coming together. Is this where you're expecting to hold events going forward?
Well, this is our home now. This is, it's been pronounced, this is our home, W's home.
Vince, I had a question. What's it like, to put it bluntly, now working with Dana White after busting his balls for so many years?
Here we go.
Well, he said you tried to F him on multiple occasions.
Please, I don't do business that way. I don't bust anybody's chops unless they get in the way. But Dana and I do get along very, very well. He's really a good guy. And
sorry, please. Do you think it's a case of two alpha males in the same spot and they're going to have to try and take each other out, or eventually realize they can coincide and build it even bigger?
Yeah, we're good partners and good businessmen. You're a good businessman, you get along.
Is it true you stuck him in the cheap seats for WrestleMania? Is it true that you stuck him in the cheap seats for WrestleMania?
No, not at all.
What are your thoughts on the dynamic between Vince and Dana now that they're working together?
I think it's hilarious. They're so similar, the both of them. So it's too well. All due respect.
He's a tough guy. Come on.
But yeah, they're very similar. They say what's on their minds, and they're both really good businessmen. And they definitely want the best for each of their brands.
I'm a better businessman.
Oh, by far. Yeah, no doubt.
You've obviously been a big mixed martial arts fan for a long time. To have these two companies under the same umbrella now, what do you think the future is and the possibilities for this TKO group?
I'm going to get a lot of good tickets to UFC and WWE events. He charges me. He doesn't even let me in. I'm just kidding. But no, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Busting Vince McMahon's chops. All right.
With WWE for 33 years and been a big fan of the UFC for a long time. So I'm really excited about the merger and the potential for growth worldwide.
And just lastly for you, Vince, what coming up on the schedule for you has you most excited, that the fans should be looking forward to, that you're looking forward to the most?
Well, it's Crown Prince. It's going to be, Crown Prince. I might meet him later on. It's the Crown Jewel, quite frankly. We're going to hear next week.
Next week.
And this is our home.
Spectacular. Thank you guys so much for the time.
Thank you.
Fury versus Usyk is set to be announced after this fight. Just thoughts on that?
This came from MMA Junkie.
Fury versus Usyk is set to be announced after this fight tonight.
So this is a more MMA perspective, at least from this news outlet here. Where were they? Where did that interview take place, and what venue were they talking about? I did not catch if that was in there. Is it part of the video description there?
I think this was in Saudi Arabia because
the new WWE experience that they talked about on tonight's pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think it was Saudi Arabia because it just happened, that interview.
Okay.
It stuck out to me because it's Vince in an interview, and he has no time to deal with journalists, and he typically just kind of, shrugs them off. But I do like them kind of pointing out the, rivalry initially that happened between Dana White and Vince McMahon back in the day. And it's interesting because they're both such strange people, I'd have to say, that they are now working together. So that's great.
Vince McMahon becoming more like a comic book villain, or, I mean, just the way he's talking there. I mean, he did everything except.
There is
Dana White, and I don't get it. I don't bust anyone's chops unless they get in the way.
He's getting closer and closer to Mr. Burns. he's almost there. Like Mr. Burns just had a black wig, But yeah. So it's interesting.
Businessman, we can do business.
We're both businessmen. And he is getting some pop shots from these God knows who reporters that are trying to get some. I mean, they did get some, clickbait material. Sure. I mean, we're guilty of it too. We clickbait it up, so
we're clickbaiting off of them.
Right? We're clickbaiting from them. So
thank you for asking those questions. We are very glad to ride your coattails. So,
well, right.
I'm just missing a pencil-thin mustache there. Farther up in that article that you had sent me from SI.com, Bryan Danielson is likely out for the remainder of 2023. I still got the screen sharing go. I don't know if you wanted to put that up.
Oh, my bad. Let me show your screen.
Bryan Danielson back on the injured list with a fluke injury. Did you see this happen? They said he got hurt on Collision with a match against Andrade. I know he has a fuller name than Andrade. Damage to his orbital bone. Just a freak injury to his eye. He broke his eye. What does this mean for AEW? Did you see the match, and what does this mean? Was Bryan Danielson in a big angle where this is going to just throw things off?
So I went to AEW Dynamite, and he wrestled with the broken orbital bone. And because they had Okada there, and they had a tag match.
Okay, he was in the tag match. Okay,
he was in the tag match, so they could hide him a little bit. But he wrestled, and then afterwards, he's just holding his face, and then all these people came down. So I don't know if he injured it worse and wasn't telling people that he was injured and just tried to cut it out.
The injury or surgery. Look, you reported it first, John. He wrestled 5 nights later on Dynamite. In the tag match.
Well, I didn't. It was interesting because I was there with me, my friend Steve, his wife, my wife, and they were like, "Oh, I think he's hurt. I'm like, no, he's really good at selling." I was like, no,
and that's the wrestling kind of selling. He was not selling other things like the Billy Strings crack. He's very good at the selling. Okay, we just need to specify for the listeners here because we've talked about a lot of selling this evening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, per the storyline, the injury has been caused by Okada and Cassidy. Mm-hmm. Even though it was they're trying to work it into a storyline. All righty. As we go further here, hey, we get a picture of MJF and Kenny Omega. MJF becomes the longest reigning AEW World Champion in AEW history. Promotion hasn't been around that long, but on November 1st, it's his 347 days for MJF. In the short history of AEW, does MJF's current title reign feel like a big deal? Does it feel historic?
Well, I would have to say this. He's been their most successful star to have the title. Hangman Adam Page, who I think is really good. He was the other guy that had the title that was impressive. But they were in the middle of COVID. So Jericho had it, then Moxley had it several times. It feels like Moxley's probably their best champ they've had because Moxley, I think he really came out of his shell when he left WWE, and he was already a WWE champion, but he seemed to level up and continue to level up. Maybe there's probably an argument that he's regressed a little bit, but he wrestles at the highest level of his career in AEW and Japan. But I think MJF, to be at the age that he's at, he's like 27 years old. He is probably the best person on the mic in pro wrestling, and I say probably because we do have LA Knight, and we do have Rhea Ripley and Roman Reigns in the WWE. But I'd say, for my money, MJF's the best on the mic in pro wrestling.
Okay, so
and he's only 27 years old.
So he's making this feel historic because of what you see from him and the fact that he's so young. Like, this could be the kind of thing that 10, 20 years down the road we're talking about. Like, this put MJF on the map, and this was just an historic title run, and he became a star.
Yeah. I think it kind of just validated that he could be the champ, and he's done a good job with it. And he's worked heel, he's worked face. I don't know what the future is with him with AEW, and I don't know. I don't know if it's been. I don't know. I've liked it. There's some people that feel it's been stale, but I've liked it. But I typically have like a positive outlook with pro wrestling.
Okay.
So.
Good. Yeah, you tend to be a thumbs up guy rather than a thumbs down guy.
Listen, the thumbs down guys, Jim Cornette has that market cornered.
Yes.
We can't be the thumbs down people. He's too good at the thumbs down. We are not touching Jim Cornette. We got to go the other direction.
And I can't work myself into that kind of disdain for the thing I've watched. I just can't. It's, I get it. I get pro wrestling, and I'm not comparing it to anything other than, itself. So I get it. I don't think I would have to fake it to be that negative. I'm just not that negative about it. So we go from MJF, who seems to have his whole career ahead of him, to a guy who, his career is winding down. This is Sting. This one also comes to us from SI.com. The previous one was from WrestleZone, by the way. This one is from SI.com again. Sting writing this final chapter in AEW. He thought he was going to finish this calendar year. It's moving to Revolution in part because they brought in Ric Flair, and he's, having some fun hanging with Ric Flair again. He mentioned that I've been emotional, full of tears twice. Real men cry. I've been emotional, full of tears twice in my career. The first was Panama City when Rick and I had the last WC match on Nitro. The second was last week on Dynamite when, as a surprise, Ric Flair came out. You were there for this, weren't you? This was in Philadelphia in Dynamite when Ric Flair came out. I got to tell you, I'm a big time old NWA WCW fan. Please, 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 please do not put Sting and Ric Flair at a combined 140 years old. I'm not kidding you, 140 years old. By the time
that's not exactly
Revolution shows up in early March of 2024, Ric Flair will be 75. Sting will be like a few weeks from 65. Please do not put 140 years of Ric Flair and Sting into a match. I don't need to see that again. I saw it back when it was good. I don't need to see that. Ric Flair showing up for a cameo on the mic. Yeah, beautiful. I love it. Please do not bring Ric Flair back for a match. Please no. Please no. John, what say you?
Well,
I corneted you there, didn't I? Please no. No.
I'm not gonna lie. It was awesome seeing Ric Flair come out, do the strut, the music. It's him. You know he's out in the city later partying too. He's still doing that, which is amazing. It's actually pretty commendable at this point that he can keep hanging. I'm 38 and I'm like, I gotta go to bed, you know. And he's in his mid 70s and he's partying late, you know. So commendable that Ric Flair is still living the lifestyle, and it's cool to see him come out. You definitely don't want Sting versus Flair as the last match. You'd want somebody that could take care of Sting for his final retirement match. I don't know what capacity Flair could wrestle in at this point. I mean, we saw him wrestle a year ago. But I'm all for a freak show sometimes. Like, hey, the Logan Paul thing, bring it on. So if we're going to have Ric Flair wrestle somebody else, I don't think Sting should be his last match. But, you know, it shouldn't be Sting's last match because it'll be horrible. But if there's going to be some one-off pay-per-view where you have Ric Flair open the match and they have some freak show, go for it.
He could be in his corner, manager. I'm okay with that. I don't want to see them wrestle because immediately people start going, oh, we're going to get a Sting Flair match? No. Sting has been honest about the fact that he's an older wrestler. I've been pleasantly surprised at what I've been able to do, said Sting. I'm also my own worst critic. I tear myself apart constantly on every little thing I do. I know my weaknesses. The fans can see that I don't do some of the things I used to do, but I know my weaknesses better than anyone. I'm with you that you want Sting to be in a match with somebody who Sting can push himself with, but Sting doesn't have to carry the match athletically.
Yeah. Yep. And ultimately, you're going to need someone that's really good to wrestle him. And I don't know that I know Flair is just not there physically at all. So Sting's actually had a pretty good run in AEW, though. Like, I've really liked a lot of the stuff he does. He's more of a novelty. I mean, obviously, he typically just works manager, and he goes in there occasionally to wrestle pay-per-views. And the matches he wrestles, he just does like some lazy brawling. And it's like, oh, he can still brawl because anybody could do that. So he does the lazy brawling, but it's Sting doing the lazy brawling. You're like, yes, okay, cool.
We saw this tonight at Crown Jewel. John Cena, they're saying retire, even though he's not nearly 64 years old yet.
Yeah.
That he may be retiring, and he goes out putting on what you said was match of the night against a guy who could use the rub. Is that the best outcome for Sting? That he goes out giving it his all, but putting over someone else who could use that rub?
Really tough to tell what they're going to do. I think it's pretty much customary that you lose when you retire, but we've seen people win when they leave. Like Edge left the WWE, and we're like, oh, this is his retirement match. He's done, and he wins. And you're like, oh, he won. And that I can't believe he pulled that off. He booked himself to win and left the company. Like, that's crazy. So,
Triple H would have buried him if Vince McMahon were alive.
right. Yeah. Okay, so
I'd like to see him put over somebody. I don't know who. I don't know AW's roster that well. I don't know who could use the rub. Like Sting here said, I wanted to finish earlier, maybe in December. But now that Rick is here with me, I want to go longer, all the way to Revolution. And there's the Nature Boy, very gently chopping his old friend and in-ring rival. They put over Darby Allin as well. Have you liked Sting and Darby Allin as a team?
Yeah, it's actually fit together really well. They both kind of have similar gimmicks with the face paint that's black and white, but they're different people, so it's not like
Yep.
and I think he's helped Darby along a lot with his character. Although I think Darby's always been a pretty good character.
Okay.
On
On screen here, Darby's risk-taking psychology. I'm beyond impressed, said Sting. The idea was to put me in a tag team and have Sting give the rub to Darby, but he's given me the rub. In the best way, we've helped each other. Agree or disagree as someone who's watched AEW?
Agree, because this could go horribly wrong with an old man wrestling for years in AEW. Like, he could have gotten injured. He could have just been like, oh, this old guy that's boring. Like after a couple of entrances, I mean, you look at some guys, it can't just be, it's got to be more than the entrance music and the whole, they got to wrestle at some point and they have to talk. So I think it's been a really good relationship and like a good win for AEW and for Darby.
When I was a new guy, the young surfer Sting, I was taking risks. I was one of the only guys my size doing headfirst dives out of the ring. Oh, we all have our faults, don't we? Well, per RVD, back when it was rare and guys could do it, and it wasn't just everybody doing it, it was impressive, right? But he also puts over Darby. Darby knows how to take risks. He's taking him to a whole new level. He knows what it's like to sleep in his car. He knows what it's like to have nothing. He's always lending a helping hand. Sting looks like he's really impressed with Darby and wants to see what Darby can do here. This may be, you've asked before, this may be the thing that gets me to buy whatever this pay-per-view is where Sting has his final match. As long as it's not Sting versus Ric Flair, I will not pay any amount of money to see 140 years worth of Sting and Ric Flair have yet another match against each other. It was wonderful back when it was relevant. If they can make Sting's final run be somewhat relevant, then yes, maybe I'm on board for that final pay-per-view in late winter there, AEW's Revolution 2024. Some injury news here. Eric of the Viking Raiders. Real injury, successful C6, C7 neck fusion surgery. This comes to us from WrestleZone. Thank you very much, WrestleZone.com. That's why we haven't seen much of the Viking Raiders yet. We've noted almost immediately, weird gimmick, very cartoonish, more like 1980s WWE than modern day. But these guys are clearly really good athletes. They move around the ring well for guys that are that size. We wish Eric all the best. C6, C7 neck fusion surgery. He is not cleared to compete. If he is cleared to compete, that is going to be pretty impressive. Wasn't neck stuff the kind of thing that put Edge out of action for many years, put Sting out of action for many years, put Stone Cold really out of action for many years? I mean, it is 2023. Perhaps the medical technology has gotten better, but this looks serious. There's no guarantee he ever comes back to compete. Fun gimmick, good worker. Wishing him all the best. What say you about the Viking Raiders and Eric having surgery on his neck, on his vertebrae?
Well, I'm looking up some of his stats right now. He's 39 years old. At 39, you ain't getting any younger, right?
Nope.
So 39, he's had a solid enough career. I kind of like the workers. The gimmicks a little much, but they were in the WWE for a while, so hopefully he stashed some of that money away. And WWE typically, or hopefully, will like kind of take care of him, give him an agent role, give him opportunities outside of actually physically wrestling. But yeah, it enter everyone, and hopefully, he does the right thing, which is just to sort of think about his future rather than force anything.
Sure, very good to see. One more, we'll bring it full circle with Rhea Ripley. She's a superstar. She's been saying Dominic Mysterio is carrying the WWE on his back. You especially have been high on Dominic Mysterio. His transformation as a character has been wonderful. She's talking about here that he's become a real workhorse. He wrestled 10 matches recently on 2 different continents over a span of 7 days, including pulling double duty at some live events in Germany. Dominic Mysterio, this also comes to us from WrestleZone. Another feather in his cap. His on-screen persona is someone who's supposed to be annoying, but he's become a real solid worker, hasn't he?
Oh, for sure. It's amazing what he started as, and then like from a year ago to now. Kudos to the WWE for just being patient with him and keeping him kind of really vanilla at first, and then having him kind of break out like this. He's got to have one of the best gimmicks, if not the best gimmick in pro wrestling.
Sure.
With the whole with the whole mommy thing. There's so many different ways you can go.
He's the
with that.
biggest heel. He's been to prison because he spent one night in jail. He's the right size where he can leap up into Rhea Ripley's arms and they don't go toppling over, as we see in this fantastic still shot here. I mean, he's really perfect for his role, isn't he?
Oh my God.
And it's a role that you probably couldn't have imagined. This is like right guy in the right place at the right time, that this role kind of emerged. This isn't a cookie cutter role that they're just inserting him into, right? This feels brand new.
He was so vanilla when he was wrestling with Rey Mysterio. He didn't really have much of a personality outside of like, I am a pro wrestler, you know,
Sure.
like very, very vanilla baby face. And to see him kind of like get more creative and go over the top. And I mean, he totally transformed his look. He has a giant mullet. He's got the crazy tattoos. And like, he's like, it's so fake tough guy is so great. Like fake hardened criminal, but he's not hard. You know what I mean? Like that's like such a great gimmick.
His girlfriend could beat him up.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is the girlfriend is tougher. And he's like shielded by her, you know?
Yes.
He's like his muscle, you know?
Sure. I mean, I just want to throw that one in there. Good to see wrestlers acknowledging each other and how far Dominic Mysterio has come. That's all I've got for cheap heat. It's cheap. It's heat. It's cheap heat.
There we go. Excellent, Dom. All right, we're moseying on down. We still have some people on Twitch, on YouTube, Facebook.
Tell us what you think of Dominic Mysterio's gimmick. We don't see him that often. He's usually on Raw. What do you think of his gimmick? Is it something you've seen before? Or is it something that's new? I think it's new. I haven't seen anybody do the gimmick quite like him before. I don't think you could accuse him of copying some other wrestler from 10 years, 20 years ago. I think what he's doing is fresh, and he's doing it well, and it's interesting. And the crowd, he's the guy the crowd loves to hate. Those boos seem genuine, and it's the right kind of boos. It's real heat, not go home heat.
Yeah, it's not like I can't stand this dude. This is boring. It's like, let's trash this dude. Let's boo him, you know?
Yes, it's the lead heat, not Italian goodbye heat.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. We're on our last segment here, Italian Goodbye. Instead of just saying goodbye, we just sort of drag it out. So you have your Irish goodbye where we would just, boom, we bounce. We don't even know you said goodbye. We do the Italian goodbye where we start to say goodbye, but really it's like another 20, 30 minutes.
Takes us forever to get out the door. So anything else you wanted to sum up from this show?
Well, if we're going to be talking about the show in general, we give it a thumbs up. I wish it would have been shorter, but we still both give it a 2 thumbs up. My voice is starting to go. Hang with me here for a sec.
Sure. Okay, Vince.
I know. I'm sounding like Vince. I'll tell you what, too. As far as the channel is concerned, congratulations to us. Thank you very much for those who have subscribed and have watched. But we hit 300 subscribers.
All right.
So we a big milestone for us for sure. It takes us 500 in order to get into the first stage of monetization on YouTube. So the last 2 or 3 months, we've been doing pretty well. So thank you to all those that have subscribed. It's really helpful. We're small creators. We're doing it as a side gig and a passion project. So it's really well, we appreciate it for sure.
The feedback has been very good to see. It's been a pleasant surprise, and it's good to know that people are not only watching us, but we're getting some real discussions going on in some of the comment sections. So please keep doing that. Even if you disagree with our takes on stuff, we had a video clip very recently about Bully Ray talking about LA Knight's character, and some people correctly called out that WWE had tried to build LA Knight more of a character with the Miz program, and that was kind of our point. It may not have been emphasized as much in that edited clip, but yeah, they did a good job with that in the Miz thing, and then they just kind of dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
And they went back to just I'm the fastest rising star in SmackDown. So they need to get back to that place where they were in the Miz program, where we were finding out more about LA Knight, why he's here, what motivates him, and what makes him so cool, what makes him keep coming out to do this. And hopefully we see more of that.
I'll tell you what, it's a little bit my bad because I cut when you talked about the Miz, because I'm like, I got to keep it 3 minutes. I was like, this is good enough. Let's post it. And I was like, everybody's like, oh, what about the Miz? I'm like, he mentioned it in the extended clip. I was like, well, whatever. It got plenty of views.
We were testing you. We were testing the viewers to see if they were paying attention. Yeah. And a few of you called out the Miz program. So we like that. We like that people are paying attention, having conversations in the comments, sometimes giving it to us. Yeah, we deserve it sometimes.
And we'll be making short videos from this as well. I think there's one about Rhea Ripley on the horizon based off of some of the takes we've had today. And because Rhea deserves it, and we want to kind of stay positive.
Has anyone had a better 2023 than Rhea Ripley? Answer that in the comments. Has anyone had a better 2023 than Rhea Ripley? I say no. I say Rhea Ripley's had the best 2023 of any WWE wrestler. I mean, if you want to go outside WWE, then I won't have the information to grapple with you as much there. But within WWE, I say Rhea Ripley. What say some of the commenters and viewers? Tell us.
One of the things is, even as of like last year, I don't want to say that she was like dead in the water, but it was almost like she wasn't nearly as prominent as she is now. It's not like she was just sort of like mid-tier to upper mid-tier, and she was trying to do like the rocker gimmick, and like the gimmick's good. And
so was it wrestling? You and I kept saying, does she wrestle? She looks like she can wrestle.
Right.
And then suddenly she's in the Royal Rumble and goes an hour and whatever and wins it. And we're like, oh, she can wrestle. Yeah, this time last year, we're wondering, she looks very athletic and looks like she can wrestle. What's she going to do? But her 2023 has been amazing. Yeah, a good upgrade for her. If you want to talk about, I guess, 4 people who've had a wonderful last 12 months, it's Rhea and Dominic Mysterio. It's LA Knight and it's Solo Sikoa.
That's true. All right, as we mosey on down here, and my voice is saying, "Get water."
we're gonna give you a warm ovation like John Cena got tonight. Was that nice that John Cena got a warm ovation from the crowd? Post match, Solo Sikoa left the ring first and was all the way up the ramp by the time Cena kind of staggered his way up, and he very slowly got a very warm reception from the crowd there. They may have known that they may have watched the last time John Cena is going to be wrestling in Saudi Arabia, and maybe the last time John Cena wrestles anywhere for WWE.
I think that they've kind of created the storyline. I just don't see. I think Cena's too attached to pro wrestling that he'd stop doing it.
Okay.
I don't think that he's ready. The second that writer's strike stops and he could come back, he could have just been like, yeah, I'm going to chill out. But no, he went right back to WWE, instead of like spending time with his wife and like just relaxing and like sitting on a beach with like a mojito or something like that. No, he's like, I'm going to go back and start working a full-time schedule and be on SmackDown every Friday night. Like, I don't think he's a guy. I don't think he can give it up too easily. I think
he's a workaholic. It's still in his blood. He can still do it. And as he showed tonight, he can still do it in pieces. Maybe he can't wrestle 200 nights a year anymore. But when it's limited to big matches, he can still go. We went through the whole card. You still think Solo John Cena was match of the night?
Yeah. I think Solo.
There you go.
Solo Sikoa versus John Cena was the match tonight. There are some interesting guys that were so great in their heyday that were just done. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know he had health issues, but I think he was just emotionally checked out. Okay. And he's a lot different kind of guy than Cena. Cena is he is like Mr. Like if he was like worked at a rental car company, like he'd be like the team leader for like the rental car company. Like wherever you would drop him, he would just do and say what he's very big time like, and there's nothing wrong with this. Like
he's an extrovert. He likes being with people. Corporate,
I would say like he's a corporate yes man. Like he'll do anything Vince says. Like I'm sure there's some times when he didn't want to do it and he finds, I'm sure some of the lines he says, he's like, oh no, I have to say this. And he goes out and he says them, right? You know? So
we need you to lose to Solo.
we need you to lose to Solo. We can't do the Vince as good as Brian Last does with Jim.
Okay.
If you're watching out there and you're 1 hour and 45 minutes in with us, and you want to watch some more YouTube clips, Brian Last does a great Vince McMahon as an old man now, because he just trails off when he talks.
Okay.
Brian Last from the Jim Cornette experience. So
Brian Last from a lot more than the Jim Cornette experience, though. He's been a wrestling journalist for a while.
I never knew really anything about him before he was on the Cornette show.
I think he got Jim Cornette really into doing podcasting.
Yeah. He feels like the guy that Cornette's the personality, and he does all like the editing, the cutting, like he keeps everything on the rails, you know, with Cornette.
Yep. Very good. Hey, it was a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon watching some pro wrestling. We got great matches. We got only one really cringe, dumb segment that I wish they hadn't done. But other than that, a ton of fun.
All right.
A ton of fun. We'll be back to our regular Friday schedule this coming Friday for SmackDown. And then it's very quick. It's only 3 weeks until Survivor Series. And they teased tonight that they're bringing back maybe War Games. Yeah. So the WWE has a lot to build in like 2.5 weeks.
We got 2.5 weeks. And Dom, thanks so much for joining. Thanks for those who popped in on Twitch, Facebook, and Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, our home base. So thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your evening.